Yeah, friendly neighborhood inquisitor says, well, if it isn't the most consistent 40k live stream. And consistency is. I was editing a video today, the one that's going up on Sunday with Monkey, and mentioned consistency. It's important being a thing. Hello, is the sound on? Are we leading loud? Actually, up here on my YouTube thing, it says the connection is excellent. It's never said that before. So apparently, YouTube says this is excellent. How is it for you guys? How's it for you, honey? Sounds good. Hi, Sanguinary Guard, Keith Moore, Andy H, A Kirby, Knox Minis, Reed Gardner. Thank you for your 6 months. We can hear you loud and clear. Thank you for being a member for 6 months. Love you very much. The Guard versus Nibs bat rep was glorious. Yeah, the one that went out today was good. So Brap Scallion came down for a whole weekend ish. And we went out on the night after the Sunday battle report, and then we did the second. We were a bit hanging the next day. Well, I was. There was 1 pint too many. But yeah, the second one that went up today for members, that was a fun filled, entertaining thing for someone stood in the room being hungover. What are you blinking at? Go away, YouTube. It was good, wasn't it? I thought it was good. Consistent as inconsistently consistent. Your streams are always excellent, my guy. Thank you. How are we doing, team? Guys, how are we doing? Has anyone played 10th edition yet? What do we think about Warhammer 40k 10th edition? That's what we're here to discuss this evening. What we think about it, what you think about it. I want to hear what my community thinks about 10th edition, because some people on the internet, the sky is falling, isn't it? But personally, I'm loving it. I'm having a great time. It's mad. It's a mess. It's a bit unbalanced, let's face it. But I'm old enough to remember 7th edition and earlier, and it was always imbalanced. And they tried to. And you used to have this social contract. They used to talk to your opponent beforehand and say, look, are you bringing anything mad? And they go, yeah. So you'd bring a mad list. And if they went, nah, just trying stuff out, then you'd bring a middle list, you see. And you still have to do that with Heresy. You fall in love with Hellbrutes. Nice. I haven't watched a few battle. Okay. Keith Moore, thank you for your 17 months. Wow. Where's that 17 months gone? Wow. Still haven't had a game of 10th. And you're wading through the Leviathan box at the moment. It's a big box, isn't it? You've got to get deep inside that box. Both hands in the box. Ah, dear. Ferric says it's crazy and he loves it. Yeah. Played 1,000 points Death Guard, new Nids, smashed them, think they underestimated Death Guard. I think Death Guard are a sleeper as well. Nids v Marines. Love 10th. Does it? Reed Gardner. I love 10th because it doesn't cater to competitive play. That's a whole conversation that we could have there, right? At the moment, it's not catering to competitive play. And I love it a little bit because of that. It's a sandbox. It's supposed to be people having fun with their toy soldiers. And back in the earlier editions, when Warhammer 40k didn't cater to competitive play, 7th edition and earlier, the ITC just exploded onto the competitive scene will always level the playing field for players who want to play it at the competitive scene, regardless of whether Games Workshop does it or not. So I don't think Games Workshop need to do it. Yeah, where are we? It's amusing that the data cards are already in need of updates. I know, right? Some of the data cards are already in need of updates. Did you know that the firing slot on Rhinos, Rhinos have a firing hatch for Space Marines and Death Guard. They don't have a firing hatch if you're Chaos Space Marines or Sisters of Battle or Thousand Suns. And someone sent me a screen grab, like all the aspect warriors in Spain, if you're Spanish data cards, they all have an extra attack to the rest of the world. And there was something about the data cards in Germany as well. Some of them were different to the rest of the world. So the data cards are different depending on what part of the world you're in. And some of them have options that some factions have. They had a lot to do. They reset. Have you seen the Space Marine deck? You could kill someone with that one. That's a hefty tome. Oh dear. I've been waiting to get into 40k, but between the complexity and the expense, I can't justify. It's expensive. It's always been expensive, Jameson Miller. But it's much less complex now with the cards and things. I have no idea how the Scorpius Tune Rider lacks the assault ramp rule. It's madness. Yeah. You miss 8th? Yes. Yes, sister Penitent engines in Spain have strength 20 weapons. Do they? Penitent engines in Spain have strength 20 weapons. Yeah. So depending... There was a few mistakes on the index cards. They've already been fact. There was a points drop. No, points increase today. So the points have already changed. At the moment, pardon me, I think the changes are the sticking plasters, the quick fixes, because some of the stuff need fixing straight away, right? There were cards out of date. Yeah, there was a Space Wolf Venerable Dreadnought when Monkey turned up. It had 3 wounds. It was a Venerable Dreadnought. Yeah, I miss 8th too. There was one glorious moment in Warhammer 40k, and it was the first year and a half after 8th edition, before Psychic Awakening and all the second codexes and all that sort of stuff. And everyone had the simplicity of 8th. Everyone had one book. There weren't any extra cards and things. And the tournament scene was the most balanced it's ever been. And everyone complained the crap out of the game back then as well. But it was simple, it was streamlined, it was easy to play. And they've made this one simplified, not simple. But does everything have to have a special rule? Everyone seems to have a special rule. It's not as simplified as I would have liked it to be. Lord Discordant, thank you for being a member for a month. I'd like to say that you're the captain, and Chris K there for the patience and help with the new starter questions. Oh, in the Discord, yes. If you are a channel member. Tier 1, get you your badges, help support me. Tier 2 opens access to the Discord in case you don't want to watch any more videos because you're a lawyer or a fighter pilot or an astronaut and you don't have that much time. So that's tier 2. And then tier 3 unlocks all of the above and extra videos as well. And yeah, we've had a few new people turn up since 9th edition launched, and Chris is a legend. They increased one of the big Eldar by 105 points. Is that the towering? The towering things have gone up a bit. I had a flick through the points. So stuff with indirect fire seems, not everything, but some things with indirect fire seem to have gone up in points. And stuff with towering seems to have gone up in points because they can just fire over stuff and things like that. And they don't seem to think that the points are that balanced for towering and indirect fire stuff. Yeah, so they're already tweaking it. Thoughts on the constant turnaround on editions rules points general compared to editions of old? Is there constant changing solving anything? There's constant changing of everything. Is there constant solving of anything? Well, each edition evolves and gets better than the previous edition until they decide to burn it all down and start again like they've done with 10th, which, let's face it, they needed to do because 9th was a muster cluster. 9th was a bit of a mess, wasn't it? Even I stopped playing a bunch of my armies because I couldn't get my head around a bunch of the rules for the things. I was really looking forward to playing AdMech. Really looking forward to playing AdMech in 10th edition. But what have they done to my boys? Why? I'm thinking about packing them up and sticking them on a shelf in the garage, and we'll never see them again until they get better, until they can shoot one more time better than a guardsman. I mean, they have all the technology and the aiming and the targeting and the spot, and they shoot as bad as a guardsman, as bad as Tau. They're the Mechanicus, Skitarii Mechanicus. Has anyone at Games Workshop actually read a book about how hard, how cool Skitarii are? Sanguinary Guard, good news. You can now take Plague Marines on the 7-man unit you get in the box. I know, right? 140 points for 7 Plague Marines. So no more units of 5 or 10 with my Plague Marines. They will be coming in units of 7. In fact, you know the points? You've got all the points like this, right? And they're all very simple and stuff. It shouldn't say 5 Khorne Berserkers, 10 Khorne Berserkers. It should just say 8 Khorne Berserkers. 7 Plague Marines. 9 Norsemen, 9 Xenos, Zinchi things, 6 of the Emperor's. That should be it. That's all you should be allowed to take. Paul B. Yes. Demogorgon. Yes. Points. Now Tau. hey, now, Tau have targeting tech too. They shouldn't be hitting on BS4 either. Yes, they should. They should be normally hitting on BS5, but with all their targeting tech, they hit on 4s. Because Tau can't shoot as good as a human. Humans are much better. Tau have got like one eye and gills, and the one eye like that, and they've got flippers like penguins for hands, and they find it very difficult to pull the trigger to shoot stuff like that. That's a Tau shooting at a thing. With a flipper, or if they're in the suit and they're mashing the buttons on the suit and they're flipping around all over the place, and every now and then they've got and then in the suit they're in a bubble of water so they can breathe properly. The Tau should really be a hitting on 6's army, worse than Orcs really, because at least Orcs have opposable thumbs. So with all their tech, it allows them to hit on 4s, which is as good as a very highly trained human. So humans hitting on 4s in the Imperial Guard, these are the best of the best of the best. These aren't like some little sump rat somewhere. So we're talking about Krieg, we're talking about Katachan, we're talking about Voistron Firstborn, we're talking about the elite of the elite and the Imperium. Much better shooting than those fish people. So Tau are basically space penguins. Yes, exactly. Only slightly less cute. You're too kind to Winters. You're too kind to the Tau Winters. I know. I am kind to the Tau. I'm not very kind to those Craft World Elder people. But the Tau, I've got some time for. I'll tell you what. Off camera, me and Sultan Plays from Sultan Plays YouTube channel. Check out Sultan Plays YouTube channel. We've been trying to make Tau work. We've been playing a couple of games of Tau versus various things. And the Tau keep losing hard. And I toned down. We had a game last night where I thought, right, okay, I'll bring some silly stuff. Yes, it had 15 Terminators in it. Okay, but apart from that, what have the Romans ever done for us? The Terminators didn't really get into assault. A deep struck 5 in over here, and they failed the charge. So they were Hammonators. They didn't bother influencing the battlefield. And a deep struck another unit in the backfield, 10 with Solgaro shooting away. And they failed the charge as well. And the reason why they were in the corner is because you got the teleport homer, so I knew I could bring them back across. But all the second unit of Tau, 15 Terminators, and all that some of them did was shoot some Stormbolters. Apart from that, the rest of my army, which is about 1,300 points, I grabbed Centurions, I had some bikes in it. I didn't have a Thunderfire cannon or any indirect fire or stuff like that. I had a Predator. It was a pretty toned down list, apart from the 15 Terminators that didn't do anything. And it was over by 2 turns. Anyone else played Tau? Anyone else struggling with a Tau? Why do Games Workshop hate battlesuits so much? I hear that the way to run them now is breaches and devilfish and plug up the board. But I hear lots of different ways about running AdMech, and I'm not interested in that either, because I like my AdMech hitting on 3s. They have the tech. They have the technology. Matty, played your first game of 10th last weekend with Chaos Space Marines. Having the opponent getting to go first in the fight phase is odd. Well, unless you charge. So when you charge, you go first. Unless they have a fight first. I have all these Space Marine models waiting for an army to claim them. Can't figure out if I want Deathwatch or... Yeah, Deathwatch are one of those tricky ones, aren't they? Crisis Suits are forced to run a Cold Star commander just to take advantage of that 6-inch advance. Yes, they are. The thing about the Tau, you see, that we found was there is an overall reduction in this edition with AP and guns. Like the amount of firepower. A twin assault cannon, instead of putting out 12 shots, now puts out 6 shots twin linked. The twin las cannons on stuff, instead of 2 shots, put out 1 shot. There's lots of guns that put out less shots at lower AP. And that seems to be a design philosophy that they had across the board for everything, including Tau. So their firepower has gone down at lower AP, and in some cases a lot less range, like the plasma blasters and stuff like that. Basically, Tau don't shoot as good, but Tau only shoot. Because in close combat, they're just flapping each other with their flippers. And they have no psychic. So they relied only on the shooting. The design philosophy above the rules writing room should have been reduce the AP and a number of attacks by shooting weapons by a bit, because this is a bit silly. People are getting blown off the table in turn 1. That should have been the design philosophy above the door. In brackets below that, except Tau. Because... when you reduce the shooting of every army, including the Tau, what are they supposed to do? Punch? They can't punch. They can barely shoot. They seem to be in a bad place. But we're trying to make Tau work. We're trying to play a couple of different games here or there with a couple of different looks, so that when we play a battle report, it's around the same level, and it's a much funner experience for me and Sultan to do it that way, because no one likes to see an army just get blown away in 1 turn, 2 turns, and that can happen in this edition. And because I don't know, I'm not that deep into the edition yet. I could just like eyeball an army and go, this is going to be a bit one-sided. I could do that before. I can't do that right now. I can't. So I thought it was funny. So many channels are saying that it's a shooting edition and melee is dead, but with my Black Templars, I'd just be getting away. Maybe, yeah. You see, this is the thing. So many channels are also saying it's a shooting edition and melee is dead. That's not been my experience of it whatsoever, because you're not slowed down by terrain anymore, right? So you're getting into melee a lot quicker, and the units that can get into melee, some of the units that you can get into melee are absolutely fruity and will just murder, death, kill anything they touch. I've found punchy lists seem to do very well, but it's different for different people's metas. It's different for different stuff, and I'm not a tournament player. I did win this trophy once, though. I am the 2021 No Retreat Legend of Legends champion. You're looking at a tournament winner here. I don't mention it very much, but I have been there. And then back in 5th and 6th edition, I went to a bunch of tournaments as well. But I have been there, and I have touched those dizzy heights. And you can't live up there for very long, though, because the lack of oxygen, it makes your brain, it starves oxygen from the brain, and you end up writing really stupid lists and falling off the side of a mountain and having no friends because you've fallen off the side of a mountain. And who wants to climb a whole mountain and down the other side to find you, to pick you up and say, what were you doing up a mountain? You shouldn't have been up a mountain. Unless you have skis on and you're half drunk and you pay to be there with a woolly hat and you're somewhere in the French Alps, and that's allowed. But on a mountain on your own, it's a bit silly. RPPB Gomez. I played 2 games as World Eaters against the Tau. I don't know if it's just the fact that our armies occupy opposite ends of the spectrum, but both games were over by turn 3. Very lethal game. I'm assuming as World Eaters, you creamed the Tau. We each 1 game apiece. Oh, okay. 1 game each. It's interesting. My orcs would beg to differ on it being a shooty edition. One game. Yeah, I've run against World Eaters once in the new edition, and they did what World Eaters always do in any edition, despite they've only had a codex recently. But when people rab World, they do what World Eaters do, and then the first, second, third wave hits you. Then there's very little left of World Eaters, but very little left of anything else that they've touched. But assault-based armies move up the table and murder, death, kill everything, right? But this edition as well tells you to score objectives or overwhelm an enemy on an objective or get into table quarters or to do. So if you're moving across the table, killing as you go, then you tend to score as you go, and you score better. If you stay back to score and shoot, you tend to score less unless you pick those fixed objective ones. I think assault-based lists tend to score quite well because of the way the mission setup is. Blast is also quite strong. My Forge Fiend just deleted a 10-man squad of Death Company in 1 round. Blast can be very squad. Sword Brethren do punch up hard. Sword Brethren still punch up hard, even after the points changes, and even after they took away particularly if you put someone in there with them like Romaldus or the other guy, Helbrecht, they just get crazy good. The Tau shooting their pistols while locked in melee is very annoying. The Tau don't need to shoot their pistols while locked in melee. I'm talking about, well, actually they can, while locked in melee is fine. But battlesuits will have the vehicle keyword now, which means they can fire into close combat because they're vehicles. And they never had the vehicle keyword before. It's good because they can fire into close combat. They don't need to fall back. It's bad, though, because there's a lot of anti-vehicle stuff. Anti-vehicle this, anti-vehicle that, haywire type stuff, which can hurt them because now they're vehicles. So, yeah. Yeah, an interesting addition. Nate, my poor Death Guard are getting blasted off the table. But really enjoyed 10th and helped 4 new players learn the ropes last weekend, and they had a blast. 4 new players. Nate, you're doing the Emperor's work there, my son. Well done. Gareth Ford, thank you for becoming a Tier 3 channel member. I appreciate you. Tier 3 unlocks the Discord and all the extra videos. 1 came out today. If you watch the Battle Report on Sunday with Brapscallion, we've got part 2 in the members thing, in the members lounge. It's been moved to Wednesdays, my members Battle Reports. Winter's Wednesdays, because someone in the Discord said that rhymes. So you have to move it to Wednesdays. So I did. And it's with Brap and Salt, and it's lovely. Vehicle keyword means they can tank shop. Oh, I didn't think of that. Vehicle keyword does mean they can tank shop. That's 8 dice, right? Their strength isn't typically higher than... Mind you, if you're tank shocking with them, you're throwing them into melee, and that's not exactly where they want to be. To me, when I watch Bat Res for 10th, it seems entirely too complicated by comparison. Yeah, so Veiled Architect, I have one of the problems that I have with 10th edition that I launched, did a video about a month back. The mission pack for new players, the Leviathan mission pack, is a bit complicated for new players. What they've got in the main rulebook is they've got 6 combat patrol missions, and it's clear that Games Workshop want new players to buy a combat patrol box. So you buy a combat patrol box, little Timmy buys a combat patrol box, boom, off you go. They should be balanced against each other. Go. And you play your combat patrol boxes against each other, and there's 6 missions in the main rulebook that allow you to play combat patrol missions against each other. And that's a good thing. That's a very good thing that they've done. That's a good first rung on the ladder. I can't remember in any other editions, like when people walk into Games Workshop back in X edition, it's like, oh, I want to play the game. Well, here's the main book, here's the army thing, here's another book that you need, how did you get into it beforehand? But now it is, well, all the rules and all the index cards are free and online, and here's a combat patrol, go. That is, hats off to them. That is really, really good. However, you're probably not going to want to swim around in the combat patrol pool for very long, because the one thing that we all are, regardless of whether we're players or painters or whatever, is we're collectors. We collect plastic crack. We can't get enough of that plastic crack. We want it in. We want it all. We want it all the time. We want to collect more and more and more. We've got so much plastic crack. We've barely painted half of the plastic crack that we have. In fact, if you're someone that's painted half of the plastic crack that you have, then you're already winning at the 40k top trumps. Most people, there's loads of people that I know that don't actually paint at all. Most people paint and collect. Most people collect and paint. Some of them play, and some of them just collect and don't paint and just play. There's all sorts of levels, but we're collectors first. So you're going to get off that combat patrol bandwagon pretty soon, and you're going to want a 2,000 point army and a 5,000 point army, and then let's do a weekend with our friends, and you bring 20,000 points and I bring 20,000 points, and the first time you do that you realize it takes longer than a whole weekend, and you hate the game by the end of it, and you think, 1 minute, we're going to have to bring around some house rules by the time we next time do that. And next time you set up for some house rules and you said, okay, we're doing 20,000 points again, but everyone has to bring, but we get bigger and bigger and bigger with our collection. And in the main rulebook, as well as the 6 combat patrol missions, there should be 6 basic missions for new people as well. And then on this channel in particular, because I'm not a tournament channel, on this channel in particular, half of the games I would play are the ones straight out of the main rulebook, would be these straight open play, narrative, quick, action ones. Because when you watch a battle report that says 5-10 on the primary, plus hit the secondary, plus this, there's a lot of stuff going on the mission level, which doesn't need to be there for a fun and engaging game and can put off new players. What happened to missions where you just killed each other? What happened to missions where you just had a couple of objectives down and fought over them? That's the thing that's missing, and I think it's a thing that could return in 11th edition. I'm already talking about 11th edition. Datsun Des, thank you for your 10 months. I appreciate you. I collect. Lots of my collection remain shrink wrapped. There you go. We're all collectors, and some of us are just like, one day I'm going to open this one and add it to my collection. I might even put it together. Adam Knowles. Winters! You're live. I made it. Yes, you did. You made it, Adam. Thanks. I hear you. Typhus with 20 Poxwalkers seems strong. He can deep strike them in and regenerates models for them in melee and with his psychic ability. Okay. I haven't tried that. Maybe I should try that. What is your favourite faction to play in 10th so far, Sleepy Sack? Favourite faction? It's going to be hard to say because I quite enjoyed playing Knights. Haven't filmed it. That was because it was easy and they were strong. I quite enjoy playing Necrons because they're my newest army and I like seeing how they get on and trying out different things here and there. And then I got the Nightbringer proxy model that Den painted up for me, and it's absolutely glorious. And then all the bases for the Necrons are all done from marchofwar.co.uk, and they're all I love the look of the Necrons on the battlefield. What else? I mean, Tyranids are good. Tyranids, see, Synapse still stings. Synapse still stings, so I can't put them in my favourite faction. They invented the rule Fearless for Tyranids, and they're not fearless anymore. I haven't touched Grey Knights yet. I haven't touched Admech yet. I've only played with the 13th once, so I can't really shout that one out. Essentially, and I haven't played with the Orcs yet. There's a couple of other factions I've got. Chaos Knights, haven't played with them yet. What's my favourite? Essentially, at the beginning of this edition, I've mainly been playing with Death Guard, Necrons. There's another one, Tyranids. Those are the three, because if I keep floating around with lots of different other factions, it's going to make my brain bleed. So those are the three that I've been mainly focused on at the start. But I really want to start cracking out the Grey Knights because I love mobility, and they're the mobility kings. Need to get you to try bolt action, Winters. I'm sure Mr. AP Byrne can draw you in. He's been trying. Mr. AP Byrne's been trying for a very long time. He's a very trying individual, trying to get me into bolt action. It's a whole other game. Do you realise how long it took me to learn Horus Heresy as well as Warhammer 40k? That's a lot. And now they've got that Imperialis Epic coming out. Man, back in the day, 2nd edition, 3rd edition, that's all I played, Epic. And it's called Legion I don't know what it's called now. A new that's coming along. My bank balance is already crying. So 3 game systems might just break me. So bolt action is a bridge too far, particularly with Epic coming along. Oh dear. Hopefully the codexes are a wee bit more expansive rules-wise, says the Eternal. I disagree, the Eternal Crusade. I disagree. There's so many rules, so many layers to this game. So many. There's almost every single data sheet has got its own special rule. And then when you add it to a thing I don't think I've managed to play a battle report yet or film a battle report yet without forgetting something at some point. You don't need loads and loads and loads and loads of rules to make a strategic genius game. Chess, I keep referring to chess, has got some basic rules. And 8th edition Warhammer 40k had some basic rules. There was no Border Discipline, no Shock Assault. It was very stripped down. And it was, a lot of people seem to agree, and I would agree with them, the best edition of Warhammer 40k. You can add complexity at the mission level. So you can have a base game, and this is what you play, and it can have layers of complexity in it, and stuff and things. What I do think we should get by the codexes, though, Eternal Crusader, when you talk about codexes have a wee bit more expansive rules-wise, is when the Space Marine Codex drops, I suspect, because we've got 1 detachment right now, which is the Gladius Strike Force, I suspect in the Space Marine book there's going to be 10 there's going to be a White Scars, we've got Black Templars already, there's going to be White Scars, Salamanders, there's going to be loads of different detachments. When the Tyranny Codex drops, there's going to be 3 or 4, 5, 6 detachments in there, and with each detachment probably will come 6 stratagems and a bunch of enhancements for that detachment. So the data cards will remain the same, but depending on what detachment you bring, unlocks a special detachment rule. So instead of Tactical Assault Devastator for the Space Marine detachment, instead it might be the White Scars detachment might say the Assault Doctrine is active all the time, so that they can advance and charge all the time, and then there's 6 new stratagems in it. I think that's what we might get with the codexes, new detachments and new stratagems for those detachments. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I don't think that adds too much complexity. Mind you, again, if they bring out the Space Marine Codex and in it there are 10 detachments, because Crimson Fists, Ultramarines, Salamanders, White Scars, all of that lot, plus a couple more, and each of those detachments has 6 stratagems each. Say there's 10 detachments, that's 60 stratagems in one book. And if you go along to your local gaming store, or if you go along to play with a friend, and you thought you knew Space Marines, and all of a sudden they're running this detachment with this stratagems, and is it going to get too much simply by adding all of those things in? Whatever happened to your old Sons of Horus? They died. They got burnt in a fire. It was called Isfan 3. They all died there. And then instead a new one has arisen. Admech. Alpha strike against the enemy's infantry with Vanguard and a Manipulus versus with Master Annihilator. This would give the unit advance, sustain hits, and if 4 and lethal hits. Thoughts on Admech, Adam? Clearly you've looked at it more than me. My thoughts on all those things that you talk about, those are words that make sentences, and at the end there's a full stop with the one word, thoughts, ? And that makes a sentence as well, thoughts, ? Thanks for sharing. I think that Admech needs some love, but there are some little gems in there. Well, yeah. It feels different though. The whole army feels different, looks different, smells different, hits on 4s. I don't play hit on 4s armies. I like super soldiers. I like Grey Knights. I like Space Marines. I like Custodies. I like Imperial Knights. I like super soldiers smashing their way across the battlefields of the 41st millennium. I don't have Guard or Drukhari or Harlequins or any of the little squishy ones or Tau. I like my super soldiers. And Admech, I've had them since the beginning. And they were sort of super soldiers because they could hit on 3s. Plus they had them bigger robots and even bigger robots. And in Horus Heresy, I've got about 4,000 points of painted Mechanicum as well. And they're super soldiers and they're big and they're chunky. And they're soldiers. We were soldiers. Great movie. But not super anymore. No capes. Remember, no capes. Favorite model unit in 10th edition? Warlord Titan. If there are 10 different detachments, there is no reason why some of the strats can't be duplicated over... Yeah, that's true. They could duplicate strats over multiple detachments, like Armor of Contempt is a very, very strong stratagem that Space Marines have. Armor of Contempt, because you can have Armor of Contempt plus cover. So the AP -2 drops all the way down to 0. That's strong. There's not a lot of other factions can do stuff like that. So Armor of Contempt doubled up with Smokescreen is powerful. That's strong. That helps Space Marines stand out. And Oath of Moment is strong, guys. Who's played, by the way? Anyone hands up? Who's actually played? Because Oath of Moment, I mean, obviously it's not as strong as Eldar. They've just taken a nerf back to the knees. Maybe that's enough to rein them in a bit, but we'll see. Wasn't that in the thing today? In the Warcom article? Was could only use one of their strands of fate dice once per phase. So in the shooting phase, you can't use it to hit, to wound, to damage. You got to pick. And you also do it before you roll. Hands up here. We've got yes, me, Space Marines. Played 3 games. Oath of Moment, great. Yeah, it's strong, isn't it? It's sad what happened with Fires of Craxus. Who knows how different things might be if that book got finished. I completely agreed. R.I.P. Alan Blythe. He built Forge World. What a legend. It seems fairer. It's really wonky. It's unbalanced. It's fairer if you talk to your opponent and decide to, or do. It can be imbalanced. Played my Death Guard into Space Marines with Oath. It's super strong. Oath of the moment has been really strong in my games. Shadow in the Warp, not so much. I know, right? Shadow in the Warp. Because even if you do Shadow in the Warp and you go boom, and you force your opponent. So Shadow in the Warp happens in the command phase, and your opponent does his battle shock tests in the command phase, and then you Shadow in the Warp them in the same command phase. And you have to Oath of and you have to make battle shock tests even on stuff that isn't battle shocked. And let's say they actually fail one of those, then they can spend 1 CP for insane bravery and pass it anyway. So Shadow in the Warp, not so much. Oath of Moment, strong, powerful, thrusting, hard, nasty, painful. Hi, don't know if it's been said, but we're not in 10th, we're in Index. Oath spanked my poor Death Guard. My opponent's other army is Eldar. So, sorry, Nate. So Oath has spanked your Death Guard. And then, yeah, okay. Maybe you can trade it up. Play with a weaker army. The Eldar. Chaos Space Marines' other strats are great for 1. Armor of Contempt being 2 is okay. I think Armor of Contempt costs 1 CP, not 2. Chaos Space Marine strats are pretty good, particularly when you've got the right Dark Pact on at the right time. So Advance and Charge with Slanesh, or Advance Fallback and Charge is really strong. Rerolling all hits and rerolling all wounds with Chaos Undivided, really strong, particularly Unit 4 Obliterators. Scorpius Whirlwind, 110 points for 2d3 plus 3 indirect blast fire shots, strength 6 minus 1 AP and 2 damage. Yep. Played 2 games with Templars, lost first game to Eldar, shocking. Won second game against Dark Elves using a Free Blade Knight Errant. He did some work that game, yeah. Knights are strong. Called it at the time. Knights re-rolling all hit rolls of 1 and wound rolls of 1 and a 6-up feel no pain is strong. Do you get that faction benefit? If you run Knights, if you just slot a Knight into your thing, do you get them bits? I can't reach all the way over there. It's at least 5 feet away. Tell me if they get all the things, or do you just stick to the datasheet? If you add an allied attachment of a Knight, because you can add a Knight in any Imperial faction, and you can add a Chaos Knight in any Chaos faction, and you just do that without ruining any of the faction keyword stuff, do you still get the faction stuff for the Knight, or is it just the datasheet? Armor Contempt 2 is 2 for Chaos Space Marines, is it? Oh. No, you lose all the things for an allied unit. Okay. Don't think so. I never ran any abilities with mine. Still slaughtered. Yeah, they're good. Get Brat back with GSC Winters. He lives 3.5 hours away. It's a whole thing. When he comes down here, and let's face it, I'm very lucky for him to make the round trip. He's a legend. When he comes down here, what he'll do is he'll drive all the way down and we'll play our whole game. And then we'll go out in the evening with a few of the boys and he'll stay the night. He'll actually pay to stay in some travel lodge somewhere and then play the next day and then go all the way home again. So it's 7 hours of driving out of his life plus quite a bit of money to stay in a travel lodge. I say quite a bit of money. It is a travel lodge in Swindon, so it's about 50p because no one wants to stay in Swindon. It's hardly the tourist destination of the UK. But yeah, it does cost him quite a bang. I'd love it if he did come down more often because he's a nice guy. But and I know you guys miss him. And I know you want to see him more. I get to see him every week when we jump into the war zone and go brat brat and cut up some fools. But and he's terrible at war zone. but But it would be nice if he could appear on the channel more often, because he is a ball of fun, a ball of positivity. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure what Games Workshop tried with 10th, and we don't even have any codexes yet. I fear the worst. There are storm clouds. There's trouble. We shall see. We shall see. Right now, I think it's a bit of fun. Can you overwatch multiple times in one turn if you have a Pure Tide chip or a Space Marine Captain? Someone answer the question for Ultramarmara. Space Marine Captain can do a stratagem if a stratagem's already been used. So you could overwatch multiple times, well, twice if you had a Space Marine Captain. 50p is 5 pints up north. I know, right? DMZ is your favourite thing. I'm loving Vondel. I like to fondle in Vondel. I'd love to do a battle report with you, Winters. Shame I'm up here in Scotland. That's a long way away. Has the sun come up yet? It's still winter up there, isn't it? Hey, Winters is live. Yes, I am, Marius. Overwatch states only once per turn. It does, but the Space Marine thing says you can do a strat even if a strat has already been used. So there's lots of things like that. Like the Hexamark Destroyer can do it a few times. Fire Strike Servo Turrets can do it. It's like, can do this, 4-0. There's a few things that can do it. But it'll be dependent on the rule. And I quite like that fact, because it makes the game more reactive. And there's only a couple of units here or there, 1 or 2 in every faction, or in some factions even 0 in any faction, that can take advantage of that. So I quite like that. Like Termagants moving in the opponent's movement phase, or deep striking in your opponent's movement phase. The game has felt a lot more interactive. So what do we think of 10th edition? One of the things I think about 10th edition I quite like is it's previous editions, your opponent would go and you'd be like, and you'd wait. And then you'd have your go. And they'd be like... And that's how it went. And lots of people would comment in the YouTube comment section, Warhammer 40k is crap. It should be you go, I go. And things like that. There was an opinion amongst some people that it should be you go, I go, you go, I go, you go, I go. Instead of turn-based. And some games are you go, I go. Some games are turn-based. 40k has always been turn-based, and there's many other games that are you go, I go. The new Epic that's coming out is going to be you go, I go. And one of the things Horus Heresy does, and one of the things the new edition does, is it's still you go, I go, but there's a lot more interactions that you can do in your opponent's turn. You can now, there are some things that you can move in your opponent's turn. You can do some overwatching in your opponent's turn. You can do some heroic interventions in your opponent's turn. There's a lot of little bits that you're watching for that you can do in your turn. Not a lot, just a little bit. And it's spread through most of the factions. Most of the factions can do things in your opponent's turn. And I like that. It ups the interaction that you have with your opponent and stops you sitting there like that for 20 minutes waiting for your turn. Stay off target. Am I off target? I am off target. I am off target. I thought they were going to add in some reactions to 40k. That would have been interesting. They kind of have, though, haven't they? Like moving in your opponent's movement phase is a reaction. Shooting, you can shoot now in your opponent's shooting phase with many stuff. Like attack bikes can shoot back. There is return fire from the Necrons. There are a number of things that you... So they've kind of added reactions, kind of, on a unit-by-unit basis, depending on the datasheet. And I think that improves the game. Yeah. Kill Team is the superior system. Yes, but I can't play 2,000 points of stuff at Kill Team. You have to play the game that you want to... I want to play with all the things. And Kill Team is the little things. I want to play with the big things. And also on the note of Kill Team, I think the Kill Team system, I don't mind... I think Kill Team Crusade... No, Kill Team Combat Patrol... Warhammer 40k and Apocalypse, I think all these game systems, the Warhammer 40k game systems from Kill Team up to Apocalypse, should share a similar structure of rules. Should share a similar, to hit, to move, to thing. So that if you start off at Kill Team, then stepping into Combat Patrol and 40k is quite easy. It should blend into each other. And then once you get to 40k, if you want to play Apocalypse, which hasn't released yet, it should blend into each other. And one of the mistakes they made in 8th or 9th edition when they released the Apocalypse rule set is it became a whole other rule set. I feel like it would be easier for the player base, easier for new players, and easier for all of us if the structure of the rule system was similar. So moving into each one. And they're doing that with the Epic system, aren't they? They leaked Epic. Epic is coming, the mini scale stuff with the Titans. And they're saying that the Titan system, Adeptus Titanicus, folds into that game. And Aeronautica folds into that game as well. So if you want to play epics with really tiny tanks and really tiny space marines, and you want to play epic scale, a huge battle with some Titan, you want to play that, and you've already played some Aeronautica or you've already played some Titanicus, then those systems blend into epic. Perfect. So people who are already playing those game systems with those miniatures don't have to learn a whole new game system. And there's plenty of people out there playing Aeronautica. It's a very good game system. Not so many people who play Titanicus. It's not as supported as much as Aeronautica or Blood Bowl, or the really big ones that surprise me that I keep hearing from, because loads of people message me all the goddamn time. The really big ones that have got really huge followings that us 40k players don't realize are Necromunda and Blood Bowl. Necromunda's got a huge following. There's millions, billions of people. I reckon at least 3/4 of the world is playing Necromunda and Blood Bowl. It's surprising how many people play those games. Kill Team and Titanicus still have massive followings, but nowhere near as much. Necromunda and Blood Bowl is really popular out there. Surprisingly so. Yeah, anyway, so they've shown that they can blend the systems together for this upcoming release, and I think they should blend the systems together. And I don't care whether it's based around the Kill Team system or the Apocalypse system or the 40k system, but it would be easier and more accessible for everyone. And what we want is accessibility. We want the ability to play with all our toys, regardless of whatever level it is at. If it was the same sort of system. Rant over. The Dagda, thank you for your 17 months. Absolutely agree. All the rules should blend. Thank you, Dagda. This is why you're a member, because you agree with me. All my members are only allowed to agree with me. They have to sign a waiver before they're allowed into the Discord, where they can only agree with me all the time, because this is the voice of Malkador the Sigillite speaking here. And if not, I'll blow up your planet. Speaking of, cannot wait for the new Death Leaper. Tyrannid skirts for the win. The new Death Leaper looks poggers. I want to get me 5 of them. Well, 3 of them. And the new Stalky thing. It's got, the new Tyrannid range. Marius, thank you for your donation. Have you tried Combat Patrol much? I know it takes away some of the fun list building, but it's very, very newbie friendly. I'm loving it. No. But thank you for your donation. I do know there's a few channels out there like Dice Check and Midwinter Minis. They do stuff with Combat Patrols. The thing is, if I started a new army like I did with the Necrons, I'm not just going to get a Combat Patrol. I'm going to get a whole thing. So I could do a Combat Patrol thing. But no. Yeah, here's a smaller amount. I would just do a 1,000-point incursion mission if I wanted to play. No, I've heard some good things though, and you're also saying good things. So good. What do you mean you always disagree with me? Don Quixote. If you read the small print of the contract, Winters, #listen to Winters, that thing, always agree with the Lord Commander of the fleet. It's in the thing. I thought we discussed this. You'll be in the brig, mate. Once they expand Epic 30k to Epic 40k, I'll be all over it. Give me some Biotitans. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. They've made Epic a 30k thing only, not a 40k thing. That was a design decision there. It's interesting, isn't it? Probably because there's Titans in it. Mind you, they didn't need to do... I mean, Aeronautica and Titanicus is a thing in 40k. Why did they leave it? I don't know. How is 10th for soup? Tomato flavoured. Want missions that I aim to beat like a level in a video game, and that is what you're trying to beat and not really your opponent. Okay. I love your battle reports with Brap. I always love him when he is on the channel. You can have him if you want. He's hard work. You can take him home, put some slippers on him, a pipe. He's from the north. He likes slippers and pipes. And whippets. He loves a whippet. A quarter of your force. What do you mean? Oh, Bio-Titan. I know Bio-Titans are good, right? Big, nasty Bio-Titans. I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of big, nasty Bio-Titans come out with the Tyranid release. Hopefully some knight-sized Tyranid gargantuan model thing. HH is always better, so they just skip past 40k this time. What do you mean you hate tomato soup, Lord Inquisitive X? How can you hate tomato soup? Tomato soup is like air. It's like water. How can you hate tomato? No one hates tomato soup. It's got soup in it, which tastes like tomato. Heinz tomato soup, classic. How can anyone hate tomato soup? Tesco vegetable soup is king. Tesco vegetable soup. Tesco vegetable soup is nice. Always enjoyed watching games with you and say hi, Paul. Yes, thank you. Has that not been... The NID release isn't... It's a couple of months, right? They've said in a couple of months. I think it said August it'll be the Space Marine Codex and the Tyranid Codex. I'd love to have a Brap if he doesn't mind moving countries. Grimslayer... well, you could have him. I'll ask. I'll ask him if he wants to move countries, but he's from the north. And I don't know. They barely like leaving their own county. He comes down here. He's got to have a passport to get south of York. Taking him when we went to the pub in the evening, we had to make sure he kept his voice down and stuff, because you know, a northerner braying away in the corner, and all that. It's quite frankly, it's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? So he's nice in a battle report, lovely, happy, jokey person, but you can't really take him to Asda. What's your favourite type of frog? There are a type of frog that spend their whole life living in leaves in a rainforest. And they're spawned in the leaf, and they grow up in the leaf, and they meet other frogs in these massive leaves, in which the pool and the water's collected, and they go to the shops, and they play Sudoku in this leaf, and then they die, and they only live in that one leaf their entire life. And I think that's kind of like a reflection on where we are, floating through this tiny ball of dust through infinite space. So those are my favourite type of frogs, because they remind us of the futility of life and our minuscule, unimportant existence. And therefore, if nothing is important and nothing really matters, then everything is important and everything matters. Be a good person, because the only thing that your goodness and your matteringness matters to ultimately is to yourself. Yeah, those frogs. I like those frogs. How are you feeling about the card decks having erratas already and rumours of them being reprinted already? Yeah, that's a thing. White's Tree Frog, is it? A White's Tree Frog. Nice. Yeah, they're on it. I think I said there was so much of them to do, so many rules. They were bound to screw up. The ratio of screwing up the rules is too damn high. Maybe it could have been a bit lower. How does your award-winning army get on in 10th? Well, I haven't actually touched the Dark Angels in 10th, because it was a 2,000-point army and it's about 1,600 now, but I could always slot the Lion in, and the Lion is like slotting in cheat code, right? He's a bit broken. I take that back. I want my Primarchs to be broken. I want Angron, Mortari and the Lion, Guilliman to be broken. I want them to have 3-up invulnerable saves, and I want them to have 4-up feel no pains, and I want them to have loads of wounds, and I want them to be absolute terrors on the battlefield. I want my Primarchs to feel like Primarchs. I mean, there's only 2 loyalists running around there out of the trillions people in the 41st millennium. I want them to be broken. And that's okay, so long as they cost the same amount of points as a Warlord Battle Titan. Because let's face it, if the Lion ran up to a Warlord Battle Titan, he could kneecap one, no problem. So, yeah, I want broken Primarchs. And so I haven't played with them yet, because I've been mainly playing with Death Guard, Necrons, and Tyranids and trying to get my head around the rules. Yes, we can get back to little plastic toy soldiers, yes. It's nice that Magnus is playable and not a floppy fish now. Is he? I hear he's quite good, Magnus. The Lion is fine, I think, when compared to the rest of 10th. Primarchs definitely need to be OP. Exactly. Your Primarchs, excuse me, you want your Primarchs to go wheeling into an army of tanks and make your way through all the tanks and out the other side with a slight scratch. And that's it. They're Primarchs. Sanguinius bitch slaps 2 Reaver Titans in a row. In the solo. I mean, you got Angron holding up the foot of a Warhound Titan because Lorgar, the pussy, couldn't even stand up. Get up! I can't hold this forever. You got that sort of stuff going on. I want my Primarchs to be OP. They're Primarchs. Who did you vote for with your Ogrim Leviathan code? I didn't vote anything with my. I think on the box set Leviathan reveal, I said, look, someone here's a thing, but I didn't. I mean, the Space Marine's going to win, right? Did Mortaran not cut a Titan's leg off? Did he? My brain has skipped a beat, and I cannot remember that bit in the Horus Heresy. The Primarch throwdown with Stylus was awesome. Looking forward to the 10th Ed rematch. That is a good point, actually. Stylus is coming here on the 23rd. We could do a Primarch throwdown rematch. But I know he's keen on bringing his 1,000 Sons, because he does love his 1,000 Sons. And if he brings along his 1,000 Sons, then I'll probably bring along the Grey Knights, because he thinks he can out-Psyker the Psyker King. And the Grey Knights are the Psyker King. And he had a bit of a grudge match in 9th edition trying to take down, and 8th edition trying to take down the Grey Knights. But you see, I won this trophy once. So whenever Stylus turned up, and Stylus said, no, I'll smash them. I will reduce you to ashes. All is dust. I just popped the Grey Knights down on the table and made him cry. So, what do we think of 10th edition, guys? What do we think? I think it's a glorious, imbalanced mess. And I'm loving the crap out of it right now. I'm enjoying myself. I understand that there are some stupid builds. And I understand that there are some stupid tournament lists out there, but that's a whole other thing for tournaments and for stupidity. And that's fine as well if you want to bring stupid lists against those stupid lists. Hey, I'm bringing along 30 Terminators, each with a captain, and we're going to do that. Or 3 Wraith Knights and all the D cannons I can get away with. We're going to do. I understand there's some very silly lists out there. And that's fine if you and your friends want to play very silly lists against each other. And I'm sure as the edition goes on, you'll see a couple, not a lot, but you'll see a couple of very silly lists on this channel as well, which don't look like anything any respecting commander or general would ever field. It's like, hang on. You're fielding more Sanguinary Guard than there are Sanguinary Guard there to exist. How many? You're fielding more... what are they called? The guys with the things and the white things and the Purgation Squad? No. Anyway, those Grey Knight ones with the white helmets. You're fielding more of them that exist in the entire galaxy. I'm sure there's going to be some silly lists at some point on this channel. But most of us just want a sandpit to play in, right? I think so. I think most of us just want a sandpit to play in. At least you guys do. At least you do, don't you? The Winter's SEO audience, I think, is just... Most of you are quite level-headed, balanced people. There's a couple of you, quite frankly, that you need help. But apart from that, apart from the couple of you that need help, most of you are balanced, rational individuals. There's a couple of you, however, that really, really like guns and grenades and oil and cheeseburgers and building super powerful lists and kicking over other people's sandcastles. There's a couple of you like that in the Winter's SEO community. But apart from that, and apart from a few other people as well that, quite frankly, are murderers and absolute real life murderers, and they've got bodies under the patio There's a few of you out there. I'm looking at Stylus in particular. He'll never tell me where the bodies are buried. There's a few like, but apart from that, most of you seem quite level-headed. Most of you, except for maybe Chris B. He needs help. Attending my first ever tournament this weekend and happy to just be playing. Nice. Not an Inquisitor. You're probably going to need to bring some broken shit. Dats and Des. I'm not balanced. I'm the sort of guy that turned up with 20 Blight Lords in 9th. I've got 20 Blight Lords next door as well. And I think I fielded them once or twice in 9th. But now it's all about the drones. Bring the drones along and bring the Blight Haulers along instead. I primarily play Death Guard and have played just about every army except Eldar. Every game that I have played has been close. I haven't won lol, but it's been super fun. You've played, Tyler, you've played just about every army except Eldar in this edition. Wow, that's 27 factions that you've played. No, you've got Death Guard, so you've played 26 games. That's more than me. Who was around the other day and asking out? It was Sultan. When I was playing Sultan the other day, we were having a conversation and I worked out that I played 15 games. Man, you're smashing it out. Not an Inquisitor. I'm watching you, not an Inquisitor. Is that even your real name? You see, not an Inquisitor. You've got Lord Inquisitor Vex in the chat now. See? We've got Lord Inquisitors. We've got not Inquisitors. Some of you are dodgy. Some of you really should stay away from knives and sharp objects. But you're in this hobby, so you've probably got scars like me. I should stay away from knives and sharp. That was 4 hours in an eternity. You probably can't see it anymore. See that scar? You can see the scar. That is a Land Raider Redeemer. No, Land Raider Crusader. 4 hours in A&E waiting to get that stitched up. I've played a whopping total of 2 games already. Good, because we had a hands up in the chat earlier on for how many people have actually played. And about 5 people said, I've played. Yep, 3 Plague Burst Crawlers, 3 Mephitic Blight Haulers, Hellbrute 10 Blight Lords, 3 Death Shroud and character support for 10th. Nice. I'm thinking... Yeah. Can Mephitic Blight Haulers come in units of... They can still come in units of 3, right? So I'm thinking a minimum of 6 Mephitic Blight Haulers for this edition. I'm thinking. But Plague Burst Crawlers, I'm not convinced. Not convinced. I'm thinking instead the shooty drones are probably better because of the mobility and because they can fall back, shoot and charge now. Speaking of Inquisitors, could I tempt you all with a spot of heresy? Sanguinary Guard. You see, there's some people. Chris B enjoyed 10th much more than 9th. Yeah, I think so. It's mad. It's unbalanced. It's crazy. And you've got the curve, right? And at the top end of the curve, it breaks. But so long as you stay away from the top end of the curve, I've thought it's been... I've enjoyed myself trying out new things, torturing Sultan in different ways. Like we're trying to make Tau work, but I keep beating him in 3 turns. Typhus, Sorcerer and Terminator armor, Demon Prince 20 Blight Lords, 6 Death Shroud, 2 Mephitic, 2. See, that's interesting because the Sorcerer and Terminator armor with the Blight Lords, I think he gives you -1 to hit. 2 Fetter Bloat Drones, yes. That's an interesting list. You notice how Mortarian's not in the list anymore. Overboard is 17 armies and hasn't played a game since 3rd edition. I do have 2 Leviathan boxes almost fully assembled. Yeah. We're a collector's first Overboard. You're the majority. You are the silent majority. There are many, many people out there who've collected many armies over many editions and they're just waiting to play. Plague Burst Crawlers with Spears and LOV make them deadly in Overwatch against infantry. Yeah. Plague Burst Crawlers work well with Lord of Virulence, +1 to hit. Can you attach a Lord of Virulence to Plague Burst Crawlers, or is it an area effect? John Adea, really loving Chaos Space Marines this edition so far, at least. I've gone up against Chaos Space Marines a couple of times, not filmed either of them, and they were full close. Chosen with an Exalted Champion to give them +1 to hit, and a Sorcerer to give them -1 to hit back. So you've got a unit of 10 Chosen, that's 30 wounds, with a natural -1 to hit all the time, and they're hitting on 2s. And Chosen can advance, fall back, shoot, charge. They can advance, shoot, charge, fall back, charge. They can, basically, you're advancing with them all the time. That unit on its own was scary. Very scary. New Chosen models are coming, I'm certain of it. That's not me saying that they definitely are, but the old Chosen models are tiny. They were better than the Possessed, and then they were better than the other. Anyway, I think you want to get dirty with Chaos Space Marines, have 3 units of Chosen. This is me being silly, by the way. We're going right at the end of the scale. Unit Chosen, unit Chosen, unit Chosen. Attach a Sorcerer and Exalted Champion to every single one of them. Have 3 Hellbrutes, because when you do a Dark Pact in range of a Hellbrute, you get both benefits of the Dark Pact, so sustained hits, lethal hits. And you make those units Slanesh so that 5s to hit become critical hits in close combat. Basically, in range of the Hellbrutes, they're going to be hitting on 2s, and 5s explode and lethal ×3, and then -1 to hit back, +1 to hit you, and then a unit of 4 obliterators dackering away with those 30 guys go, and then you got there's enough points left over for like 5 Space Marines at the back of the field just stood there, legionaries. That's a scary ass list. That is horrifying, and will run through almost everything you put in front of it. Chosen already have new models. They're sort of new models. The Chosen did come out with new models like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, but they're baby. Everything's got a bit bigger, so there's going to be newer Chosen models, I'm certain, because they're too small. So who's the next upcoming Primarch, and why is it Fulgrim? It's Fulgrim, and why? Because they've said that they are releasing the Emperor's Children. Death Guard cultists using Scout to contaminate objectives is another cheeky tactic. Yes, but the contaminate objectives happens in your command phase. So you Scout to get onto objectives. It's not contaminated yet unless you control it in your command phase. And if you've got a bunch of cultists stood on it and your opponent can see them, then those cultists aren't going to be there for very much longer. You need to actually hold that objective. And you see where the objectives are now. Either if you go for the fixed placement of objectives, actually holding objectives. If you go for the fixed placement, it's kind of tough. Or you can go for Chosen Battlefield and put your own objectives down in your own places. It makes it a bit easier to hold on to them. But actually holding on to fixed point objectives. See, I don't rate the Death Guard contagion thing. It's not great. Were new Chosen not in a box with new Eldar last year? Yeah, they were. But they're tiny little things. They're snap fit Chosen. They're not. If you look at the new Legionary plastic kit, they're bigger. The new World Eater plastic kit, they're big. Everything's got a bit bigger, and you put them next to the Chosen. I might actually have some. I've got some. Chosen models. Baby Chosen model. It's not finished painting yet. Old school Space Marine model. Terminator. They're not much. See? They're tiny. If I went next door and got a bigger one, they're not great. Snap fit things. They look disproportionate, which is why on the new data sheets they've got 3 wounds, not 2 wounds, and they're chosen by Chaos, which is why I strongly suspect new Chosen models are coming. I mean, you can't even buy obliterators still, right? They still come in that box, and you have to get them in the box with the other things and the master. You can't even buy a solo Master of Possession. I think for like the last 5 years, Games Workshop hasn't released certain Chaos Space Marine models in a box on its own. Am I right? Am I right, chat? I think I'm right. That's an old Chosen. There's been newer ones. Has there? Okay. Good. They got newer ones. Good. Right. Okay. I knew newer ones were coming, and they're already out. Yeah, there's definitely new Chosen coming because they're out. Chosen got released 2 years ago with a new Eldar release. That went straight over my head. Dear. I thought Scout happened before the command phase. It does. Scout happens at the start of the first player turn, I think. Or before the first player turn. It happens right at the beginning. So if... I think you... Do you scout before the person knows about the thing or not? Or, so you might be able to get on an objective and stamp a flag in it. But holding on to it, tougher. I have a hard time sorting my Chosen from my legionaries. Yeah. They need more obliterators, right? There's like coming units of 2 and 4. Here's another thing. Obliterators come in units of 4 in the future, not 1, 2, 3. You can tell by the points, 2 or 4. And there's only 2 obliterator models, and they're monopose models. Does that mean that there's a new obliterator kit coming? Otherwise, you're going to have 2 that look the same and 2 that look the same. There's got to be a new obliterator kit, standalone obliterators, and it'll have those monopose guys and another guy. It's got to be in there, right? How big are Chaos Terminators compared to the new Loyalist ones? Does anyone know? Yeah, they're about a foot smaller, the Chaos ones. They're about a foot, like a normal Space Marine Terminator, about 8 feet tall in their power armor. Chaos Space Marines about 7 feet tall because they don't eat any greens. They stay away from fruit. Not enough fiber in their diet. No stream notification. What have I missed? Make sure, guys, that you smash the like button, hit subscribe, and click the bell icon to make sure you get all the notifications and you never miss a Winter's SEO video or stream or your bell or your notification. Hit your bell and on other subscribers and things and YouTubes that you follow. Winters, what's your favourite genre of music? Back in the day, when I was a younger, angsty teenager, I was big into, and we're talking like the 60s. No. I had genres of music back when I was a young pup. And but these days, being older and stuff, I like what I like. I'm really annoying with her in the car and any friends that I give lifts to, because my music selection will go from Taylor Swift and One Direction to AC/DC, Tool, and I don't know, Two Steps from Hell. Anything. It'll go from one end to the other. Yeah. So if it's catchy and it's got a beat and I like it and it stands out, I don't care what the genre is now. I'm a bit weird like that. Overboard, thank you for your donation. Thank you. I love your narrative, Batrets. I'm tired of must take units and spam 3 of these units because you want to win. Yeah, I don't do that much. Thank you for your I appreciate you. Yeah, I play with stuff that I want to play with, and most of my opponents turn up and play with stuff that they want to play with, and we have fun. And you can spam 3 units and get really strong and make really strong lists and win, because you must win, and you can play it that way if you want to. And when and if people turn up here with those type of lists and that type of intention, then I will play comparable lists against. You'll see it sometimes. Like I said, you'll see it sometimes. Tyler Pearson and Friendly Neighborhood Transgender Vampire, thank you both for joining the 13th at Tier 3. I really appreciate you. Tier 3 unlocks my Discord, so make sure you jump in the Discord. You've got to do, when you get in the Discord, you've got to do there's a verification step. You click on the thing to verify the thing. YouTube refreshes it every half hour, and YouTube talks to Discord every half hour. And then once it tells the Discord that you are a thing, then the Discord will be unlocked. And make sure to say hi to everyone, and they'll say hi to you. And yeah, if you don't hear if it doesn't unlock within half hour, then there's the mod thing. Click on the thing to talk to the mods and they'll automatically do it for you. And also at tier 3, it unlocks all the membership videos. And it's a great way to support me. Enjoyed my community. I really appreciate you guys. Really appreciate you. Faithless, Eminem. Yeah, I've got Faithless. So basically, I've got in the car, there's a thing that I slick in the thing, you know, and the cars now, it used to be back in the, I remember having a tape deck. I remember that going up to a CD. And then I remember talking to the phone. But now I put it on a dongle or it's on my phone, one or the other. And I just keep adding more and more and more and more to it. And yeah, Faithless is on it. Eminem is on it. ABBA. I haven't got any ABBA on it. ZZ Top, I have got ZZ Top on it. Winters, have you seen the new Hammer and Bolter episode on Warhammer Plus? It has Lucius the Eternal and is pretty rad. No. I have never subscribed to Warhammer Plus, but I have watched some Warhammer Plus around my mate's house. I did the Blood Angels one and the Inquisitor one and another one. Because my mate's got Warhammer Plus and he watches all of it. And I'm like, which ones are good? He's like, well, you have to watch this one. So watch those ones. And that's it. Yes. When I played Two Steps from Hell in the car, the wife calls it quest music, and she's not wrong. Two Steps from Hell is OG, man. Love that shit. Got about 3 of their albums. I've been listening to a lot of Sabaton recently. Devil Dogs and Ignids and All the Way is great car music. Yeah. I mean, again, you guys are also Back in Black. Nice. You guys are listening all sorts of esoteric stuff, but I just remind you that on my music selection is also Taylor Swift, Air Supply, One Direction, who was that one? Busted. If it's bouncy and it's catchy, I'll listen to it too. And it can be great car music. I mean, Thunderstruck, fantastic. Great driving song. Absolutely love it. But when that's what I go to school for, even though it is a real chore. That's what I go to school for. You know, that will get me singing along with the windows down as well. Alex Stratton, thank you for becoming a Tier 3 channel member. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Welcome to the fleet. The voice acting in this one is particularly quite good. Nice. Busted has a cult following now. Does it? Well, I've been to the year 3000. Not much has changed, but they lived underwater. Now, if you went to the future and everybody lived underwater, quite a lot has changed. But it's a Busted song, so we'll let them. Skater Boy, yes, we'll let them get away with it. No playlist is complete without Enya. No Enya. No Enya. No Enya. No. Did Busted predict the Lair homeworld? Maybe they're all 40k players. Oh dear. The voice acting is usually one of the things they do well. Yeah, I've found that of the Warhammer Plus stuff that I've actually watched, the voice acting is quite well. What they don't do well on a chunk of them is the story. Sometimes the story just isn't very well at all. But the voice acting is normally really good. The visuals is normally very good on the ones that I've seen. The Blood Angels one was outstanding. I really liked what they did. There was the hive, the space battle, the depiction of what it's like in space when this tendril was attacking the spaceships. It's, yeah, the hive mind and the hive fleet looked like underwater deep sea creatures of mythical proportion, of Greek legend, Roman legend, Atlantis, and it looked big and epic. And then you had these stationary Leviathan ships just firing sledgehammers out into the void. That was very good depiction, very striking. I liked it. Busted is definitely a Slaanesh band. That's when they actually do an animation and not just a lore vid or a bat rep. Yeah, they do lore vids now, and they do battle reports now. I don't know why you would subscribe to Warhammer Plus to get lore videos when there's Voldemort and there's Luton and there's others out there that do lore really, really well and arguably better than Games Workshop do. Much better, in fact. No, not arguably better. Better than Games Workshop do. These are passionate creators who care about the hobby, who love the hobby, who love their lore. They do it much better. And battle reports as well. There's many battle report producers who know the game better than they do, play the game better than they do, and love the game. I mean, they're doing it for a job, whereas I'm still playing all the time, even without filming. Yeah, I've played more 10th edition not filmed than I have filmed because I love it. I'm reading Praetorian of Dawn at the moment. Per your recommendation, it's a good one. It is a good one. Voldemort is the man. He is. And Luton is the Emperor of Mankind. I mean, they could make them better. They do make the lore. They are really very met, though, especially compared to... Yeah, I know Voldemort is... Who's that? There's another guy that I watch. Brain. There's so much 40k that I watch. It all sort of blurs into one. Here's my 40k playlist on YouTube. Here's all the other stuff that I watch. All the science and history shit. But here's the 40k stuff. And it all kind of blurs into one. So, what do we think about 10th edition, people? What do we think about Wolflord Row? Yep. What do we think about 10th edition? Are we liking it? I'm liking it. I'm having fun with 10th edition. It's been crazy. It's been emotional. It's broken, but I'm loving it. I just read the last Siege of Terra book and I think I read it wrong. Did the Custodes turn to chaos on the ship? Spoilers. 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 So to answer your question, Alec, spoilers, turn off. When I do this, everyone can put the sound back up again, but wait until I do that. Alec, the bit you're referring to, I'll try not to spoil it too much, is extremely contentious amongst some lore circles because the Custodes actually turn-ish. Not all of them, but turn-ish. And it's extremely contentious that they could and would be susceptible to the bad touch. I think what the author is trying to get across is this happens once. This happens once in the whole of 40k, 30k lore canon ever. It's never happened before. It'll never happen again. But once at this moment in time when Earth itself is slipping into the warp, where space and time has fallen apart. It's all about this one space and this one time. The day never ends. Euphrates Tequila is leading the million people for day after day after day after, but the sun is never setting. Reality itself is broken down. This is the fulcrum around which the fate of the entire galaxy will be written. And at this one point, at this head of the needle, at this singularity, at this point over the edge of the event horizon, even the impossible is possible. And even the vaunted Custodes can be twisted. Some of them a bit. Dan Abnett is just trying to show how unbelievable and how broken the Siege of Terra is, and the effect that the Chaos Gods have on this space and time, all four of them bending, focusing on this space and time, and the Emperor of Mankind. So there's this thing happens. It's contentious because there's a number of people in the community that say it could have never happened, it should have never happened, it's a bridge too far, and I don't like it either. I don't like it when it happened, but and you could argue that it couldn't happen, and you could say 1 minute maybe it is a bridge too far, but I get what Dan Abnett's trying to do. He's even the impossible is possible. even the most absurd becomes certain. Even dogs and cats living with each other, end of the world shenanigans going on here. And to help drive that point home, here is something that is impossible. It's a unicorn. Here is something that's absolutely impossible. Absolutely stupendously impossible, like a kind and generous Craftworld Eldar player. It doesn't exist. Anyway, wave hands in air, wave hands in the air, because all of them turn to evil in the end. And Slanesh and Eye of Terra and She Who Thirsts. Sorry, next time I will pre-warm up for spoilers. Thank you for clearing it up, though. No problem. Aboard the Vengeful Spirit, they are neck deep in the warp at that point and have the full attention of the four gods. Yes, nobody should be infallible. The potential that anyone could fall is what creates stakes. Thank you, Crispy. Exactly. Just finished listening to the first 3 books of the Horus Heresy. Boom. Every character sucked except for Torquenon and Tarvitz, who won me over by the end. Got to do book 4, Flight of the Eisenstein. Do the first 4. Flight of the Eisenstein, you'll probably... Every person sucked, including Loken, Garvey or Loken. Garrow's in book 4, Flight of the Eisenstein. He's one of the characters that was so popular, he actually ended up getting his own book later in the Horus Heresy. Nah, not impossible. Emps made the Primarchs to be superior, and look how they turned out. Yeah, but he stole a little bit of fire from the gods. He took a bit of chaos and put them in the Primarchs and set up the whole chessboard with the Chaos Gods. The heresy was meant to happen. They set their chess pieces in motion, boom, but the Chaos Gods cheated. So, yeah. Loken is the best. What? Exactly. I want to like 10th edition, but the changes to the core rules plus the changes to the factions have made all my armies unrecognizable to me. Playing HH and 9th until the codexes are released. History mystery. I feel you, brother. I can't see myself playing AdMech anytime soon. And I love AdMech. And I'm playing Heresy still. And I'm loving the Mechanicum Tagmata in Heresy. But I'm also really enjoying 10th edition. Apart from the AdMech, what have the Romans ever done for us? Apart from that, the armies that I played, and Tau, apart from them, I'm loving 10th edition so far. It's been mad, it's been bad, it's been crazy, and I enjoy playing in the sandpit with my toys. Following spoilers are over with everyone turns evil in the end. Exactly, Lord Inquisitive X. Everyone turns evil in the end, Lord Inquisitive X, and that means you need to hunt them down and kill them, deliver the Emperor's justice. Loki only existed for Torgal to bounce jokes off, lol. Did he? You reckon? I think Loken he's the primary protagonist of much of that book. He exists as our way into that universe. And I think he exists as an everyman character, as a every Marine character, because he's quite reasonable in many of his judgments and decisions. And he's quite reasonable with his friends, and he's quite reasonable with Horus. So we're given this reasonable mid-level character to root for, or to see the heresy unfold through their eyes. And one of the reasons why that is actually unusual and stands out in Horus Heresy is because so many of them are not reasonable. Most of them are crazy and all over the place. I mean, you're going to bump into Sevatar and Khan and all sorts of people out there. So actually getting someone, it's like when you finally meet Guilliman, it's like, oh, and Korax, it's like Guilliman and Korax, they're actually quite normal. And that's quite nice and refreshing in Horus Heresy when you bump into them, because not all the other Primarchs, most of the other Primarchs are not normal. They're quite quirky. Also, he fights dirty. Following spoilers, yeah, where are we? I want to emphatically state that I'm genuinely happy for people having fun with 10th. Okay. Simultaneously, I feel like the game is leaving me behind as it becomes increasingly event orientated versus casual. Yeah, that's a big problem. Yeah. People leave the hobby all the time. And ninth edition was the competitive edition. Ninth edition was tournament edition 40k. And I hoped that they would address that issue when they hit 10th edition and say, don't worry about the tournament edition Warhammer 40k. What we're going to do is we're going to make Warhammer 40k casual and imbalanced and crazy. And you know what? They've made Warhammer 40k 10th edition imbalanced and crazy. And it's a good start for casual players, particularly with the Combat Patrol edition. It is a good start. I am very concerned about how much they're going to start reining it in and reining it in and reining it in, because every time they release a balanced data slate, every time they release a rules update, every time they release points changes, people leave the hobby. Every change that they make through the edition, people leave. In a year and a half's time, in a year's time, people are going to be reading their rulebook and watching games online or watching games with their friends and looking at their rulebook and looking at their cards and say, wait, that doesn't do this here. What game are you playing? This is different from the game that I have written down in front of me and paid for. And the further that they get away from that, more and more people leave the hobby. And I think the complexity in the tournament side of things should be baked into the mission set for tournaments and not in the core rules. So you're preaching to the choir, brother. Loken is one of the few you can associate with. Exactly. 40k Corex isn't normal. Oh no. By 40k is far from normal. My favourite thing is writing lists, and they've sucked the fun out of that. Hate pricing of units now. Free war gear. Why? Play Horus Heresy. You'll love it. All the ins and outs and the list. I'm playing 1 point for a bayonet or 2 points for a chain bayonet. Play Horus Heresy. You can write lists up the wazoo. Plus, it's been made for around 3,000 point games. Plus, the foundation of the rule system is based on 7th edition and earlier. You'll love Horus Heresy. Free war gear. Why? Because it's more accessible to more people. And the more accessible the game is, the more people that play the game, the more healthy the game is, the more they make money, the more players that are out there, the more people that watch videos, the more. You want the game to be as accessible as not as accessible as Risk or Scrabble or a McDonald's. But you do want it to have a level of accessibility, maybe not Burger King or McDonald's level, but we're talking Five Guys or In-N-Out or, you know, a good kebab shop on the corner, a trusted kebab shop where you can go when you've had one too many on a Friday night and you know you're going to get a decent kebab and it isn't going to rinse out your ring hole the next day. It's going to be quite solid for you. One of them. That's what you need. That level of accessibility. Sigismund is the GOAT. I know, man. He's the only Eternal Warrior other than a Primarch. Well, he's the only Praetor level Eternal Warrior in the whole of the book. I love that. History Shimishi. I'm intending on playing Horus Heresy with my Eldar. Okay. The third-party rules released look fun. Maybe my look. Yeah, well, you can... I know that there is a small Horus Heresy community that are still playing with Xenos using Horus Heresy 1.0. So that is available for those that want to play with their Eldar, Horus Heresy 1.0. And then there is the third-party... It's been updated online and you can find them out there if you want to play Xenos versus Heresy. Free war gear isn't free. It's a maximum cost of the unit. Don't want to field 5 plasmas for bolters. Bad for you. I dislike that. Free war gear. Okay. Still haven't played a game yet, and I haven't brought the new core rulebook either. I know it's all online, but I haven't had the time to go through and learn it all. Yeah, so accessibility is the thing. Do you have favourite mini painting channels? Yes, Sultan from Sultan Plays YouTube channel is the best mini painting channel on the interwebs. He's my fave. Yeah, time is a thing, David Ring. When you're talking about how much time you have, that's this hobby. It's not like picking up Call of Duty and playing a game or Only Up. No, let's try and smash Only Up and try and beat this speedrun. 16 minutes. 16 minutes Only Up. What is that about? I was about 3 hours in, I gave up. So, yeah. It's not like you can turn it on and play it. You need to buy the thing and then read the rules, paint them. It takes a while. So anything they can do to make the game more accessible, great. Anders Melander, thank you for your donation. Thank you. Appreciate you. A shout out to my friend Anton. He is in a hospital in Greece and he's going through a tough time. He's a follower of the Dark Gods, and Anton is a champion in this hobby and one of my best friends. Well, I wish Anton all the best. I wish Anton all the best, and hopefully, hi Anton, if you can hear me, if you're watching this, you're a follower of the Dark Gods. It's probably why you ended up in hospital. Okay, you need to burn that heretical stuff, pick an Imperium force. You've got a lot to pick from now. You can do your knights, your custodes, your guard, or of course, good old-fashioned Adeptus Astartes or Grey Knights. There's quite a few. You can pick a nice, a nice, good, holy force and burn all the chaos stuff, and then you'll be out of there in no time whatsoever. So wish you all the best. Get AC and the hobby. The community is also shouting you out. So Winters, what's your favorite Warhammer army? Lore wise, Mechanicum or Mechanicum Dagmata by a long way. Lore wise, to play with, it depends on the edition. And in this edition, I couldn't say yet. Knights are the easy switch right now, and they're quite strong. So I've mainly played Knights, Necrons, Death Guard, and Tyranids in this edition so far. And out of them, I've enjoyed Knights the most because they were the easiest to play. So I don't have to worry about all the layers and layers and layers of rules. I can just play the game and enjoy having fun and talking to my opponent and throwing tiny little stones at them and dice and things like that. But previous editions, that would change. In the old days, old days, 6th edition and earlier, it was only Space Marines. I didn't get my second army, which was AdMech, until 7th edition, until they released AdMech. And then I had a second army. But before then, I only ever had one army. And I bought AdMech in Horus Heresy. I bought Horus Heresy AdMech first because Horus AdMech was first released in Horus Heresy before they even released it in 40k. So what about the 13th? I've played them once in this edition, so I can't say if they're my favourite army. So lore-wise, your favourite army? I thought you meant faction. So obviously my favourite army in my collection, lore-wise, is the 13th. But I thought you meant in general. General lore-wise, not my own insert. It is AdMech, because the Mechanicum scream Warhammer 40k to me. But yeah, my army, personal armies that I own, I love the lore for the 13th. They've got a long and furious history that goes back a long way, and there's many story times. You can go to the YouTube playlists. You'll find a story time playlist, and on there's lots of stories. The most number of named characters is in that army. They're the largest collection I have in that army. But I haven't played them. I've only played them once in 10th yet, so I can't tell you if they're my favourite army in 10th. And the only reason why I played Space Marines once in 10th yet is because most of the time I'm playing against Space Marines. What about that? Yes. What's the coolest AdMech army in lore? AdMech army in lore. I don't think of it like that. I think of, I don't think my brain, when I think of AdMech army and lore, I think of the AdMech are cyborg fundamental religious nutters in space. So It doesn't get much more grimdark. They are more they're as fundamentalist and nutjobby when it comes to religion as Sisters of Silence and sorry, Adeptus Sororitas as the girls. There is, and the body horror of it and the grim darkness of it and the long and sordid history of it and the void dragon under Mars, and it's so complex and so multi-layered, and it's a broken bureaucratic nightmare made of religious fascists that aren't human anymore. It screams grimdark to me. So yeah, toaster lovers, they love the toasters. One less named character to keep track of on the 13th now. Ozzy, it's too soon. I need some time for this wound to become a scar, Ozzy. Why? Why would you say such things? Ozzy, go and sit in the corner and think about what you did. Thank you, Mootle Doodle. I knew you had my back. You should never trust an AdMech around your USB ports. They'll stick anything in it. No, I'm not only playing against Space Marines. I'm mainly playing against Space Marines. I mean, on the channel you've seen... What have I played with on the channel? Has it all been Space Marines on the channel? But I've also played against Tau a bit and a few others. We're trying to get Tau to work. Is it all Space Marines on the channel so far? Me versus Space Marines. I have to check now. Content. Press the button. Me versus Tyranids versus Space Marines. Yeah. Custodes versus Death Guard. I went against Custodes. Space Wars versus Leagues. Yeah. Space Marines versus Death Guard. Okay, so I've played against Space Marines versions of, including Space Wars and Blood Angels. And when I say versions of, bear in mind that I play Sultan plays a lot, and he's got like 10 different Space Marine armies, and Custodes and Tau, and I played against Tau 3 times. So yes. So yeah. So it's, I don't need to play with my Space Marines to get the Space Marine feel. I can play whatever I want to play to see how Space Marines function when Sultan is pushing my back doors in. Thanks for putting Ozzy in a timeout, Lord Inquisitor Vex. That's why you're here, and that's why you're a Lord Inquisitor. Put them in a timeout. Ozzy, quite opposite. I think we should all watch close and keep track of, not Chaplain and... Thanks, Lord Inquisitor Vex. Thanks. You can let him back in the room now. Working on my first Imperial army at the moment. Got tons of Gravis armor for an Imperial Fist heavy intercessor force. Yes, I've been thinking and speaking about it on live streams quite a bit about actually doing a Gravis heavy Space Marine force, because it'll look different, right? And you can't play that sort of Space Marine force in Horus Heresy. Like in Horus Heresy, it's Space Marines and my AdMech, and the 13th, apart from the second company of the 13th and some jumpy dudes, actually, and the aggressors, I was about to say, apart from the 13th, I haven't got any Gravis, but then I was thinking about it, I've got quite a bit of Gravis in the 13th and the second company. Okay, so I've been thinking about doing a Space Marine force which is only Gravis, and bringing in a lot of chonk, because I like my Space Marines. Have you read the Siege of Terra books yet? Yes. I finished the Horus Heresy a bit ago and just listened to the first Siege book recently. I'm a huge fan of Horus Heresy and I talk it to my friends all the time. Lol. Dave Ring, I have read the Siege of Terra all the way through twice, and I've listened to the last 3 books in the Horus Heresy on audio twice. I don't know why I didn't do the first ones on audio yet. I'll get to them. Yes, I'm a bit twisted when it comes to reading when it comes to Black Library books that I really like. I read them a lot, And when it comes to Black Library books that I really, really like, I get them on audio as well, and I'll listen to them a lot when I'm hobbying. I'm waiting for all of Gaunt's Ghost to be on audio, because it's not all on audio yet, and I've read those books like a dozen times. Finished it, all 50. Yes, I've done all the Horus Heresy more than once, all the way through. Yes, and parts of the Horus Heresy I've done, like the first 4 books I've done 10 times, and 3 or 4 times on audio. Yes, seriously, no cap. If you were to create from zero Angry Marines army as close to lore as possible, what unit should you go with? I think some Tactical Marines, some Devastator, and some Assault Marines. Joseph Krasharowski, 10th edition is awful. Nice. David Ring, it's a lot of bloody books to buy. It is. And in fact, if you want to get the whole of the Horus Heresy all the way through, you can only get them now on Audible or on Kindle. Or by paying like £200. Like some of the books, like book 40 onwards, is out of print. So you can get them on eBay. But like Old Earth sells for like 200 quid now. There's a bunch of books on Horus Heresy that sell for a lot of money because they're out of print. What's that all about? Just started Gaunt's Ghost in audio this week. It started off all a bit bleak. Yes, it does. The first 3 books in the first couple of books in the Gaunt's Ghost series are the weakest, but they're still good in my humble opinion. I fucking love them. The 3rd book in Gaunt's Ghost Founding is called Necropolis, and it is outstanding. It's one of the best Hive City fights you're going to get out there. Particularly the last couple of chapters. It's the collapse of the it's good, and then it just gets better. And I think the Founding and the Saint is available on audio right now, and then a couple of books at the end like Anarch are available on audio, and Salvation's Reach, but the bits in the middle they haven't done on audio yet. And when they've got them on audio, then I'll get them and I'll listen to them all the way through as well. So you have every Horus Heresy book on Audible. You have a problem. You don't have a problem, mate. You have a collection. And I tap my cat to you. Every audio book on Audible. I'm going through the entire Horus Heresy series on Audible for the first time now. Like I said, I've done read the beginning, read them all the way through a few times. I've read it all the way through twice. And there's bits that I've read through more. But and then the Audible bit, I've done a bit at the end, the bits in the middle, the earlier bits, mainly the earlier bits on Audible. I've never gone through the whole lot on Audible beginning to end, and I'm going through it now, and I'm up to No Fear, which I think is a book 20, and I started about a year and a half ago. So, about a year ago, actually. So I'm slowly making my way. I think it's going to be about 2 more years, and I'll eventually have finished all of Audible, all the way through Horus Heresy, Siege of Terra as well. But yeah, I'm making my way all the way through them while I'm painting and while I'm hobbying away. I'm looking over here to my hobby desk, like finishing off a few bits of the Emperor's Children. That's going to be a standard bearer, and we're starting to do some work on the Raven Guard, which is going to be the next project. I goddamn love it. I've always loved sitting down and crafting lists. I feel the way points have been simplified has removed a lot of the fun for me. It's also reducing diversity within units, even if it's easier. Yeah, the second commenter this evening to say, that sucks. I hear that complaint, particularly for people who like writing lists, to have that taken away from them. But there is Horus Heresy. There are other game systems. If that's the bit that you like most, then maybe you want to have a look at other game systems. I think that I get what you're saying, because I like writing lists as well, but anything that makes the game more accessible. Yeah, the book's got me into hobby as well. Found Mark Kauth on YouTube randomly. I was like, what is this? And then jumped down the rabbit hole. Yeah, it's a deep rabbit hole. Ozzy, welcome back. Well done. Behave yourself. Emperor's Children don't like the stream. Don't be an Emperor's Children. It took me 3 years, as now known as No Fear. Also have 3 short stories as well going through the Kauth War. Yeah. It took you 3 years to get all the way through it. I believe you, because I'm at book 20. Where is No Fear? I think it's book 20. So I think I'm about a third of the way through. And and that's a year's worth of stuff. And I'm only mainly doing it on Mondays and Wednesdays when we're sat here. Me and Alex SEO are sat here and are going through the heresy while we get Horus Heresy nights, fellas. We're sat here and painting away. We'll play a game and then we'll sit here and we'll play some and we'll listen to the thing and we eat some food and we'll talk for heresy and we're listening to it all the way through because he's never done it. So it was a good excuse to take him all the way through it, and he's balls deep now. He's loving it. Winters, did you hear about the guy who flushed his weighted dice down the loo? I did, right? The ITC or another tournament, another cheating scandal in tournaments. Again, there are a tiny minority here giving this hobby a really bad name. And imagine if you want to win that much that you cheat. There are, yeah. What is the best way to get the audiobooks price-wise? Audible is the best way to do it. In fact, if you do go to Audio, before you go to Audible, if you want to get the best audiobooks price-wise, if you want to, check out Luton on YouTube because he's got a Audible thing. He's got a deal with Audible. So you go on Luton and it will have his code in it, and then you input his code in it and it gives you money off and blah, blah, blah. And the reason why Audible is like $5.99. I forget what Audible is, like $5.99 or whatever it is. It's a monthly subscription, but you get a credit a month every month. So you're getting full audiobooks, even if they're just released, and even if the audiobook, the latest Siege of Terra books, to buy the hardback, like £18, and to get it on Kindle is like £15. But if you have an Audible subscription, then whenever the book pops up, you can just get it for your $5.99 or $4.99 a month, whatever the Audible monthly subscription is, so long as you have credits on your thing. And you can also, with Audible, you can buy bundles of credits. So Audible is actually, it's good value for money. Yeah. McDoodle. I've tried buying the books and in the end I've had to miss out just because I can't get them. It makes no sense for them not to produce them, but hey ho. I know, right? It's crazy that some of the books are out of print, particularly when the Horus Heresy is coming to an end and they launched a whole new game system for it. You got to get a Kindle. I was talking to this about Monkey. Monkey was around the other day and he's making his way through the Horus Heresy and he got up to Old Earth and he couldn't get it anymore and he was seriously thinking about buying a copy of Old Earth off eBay for £80, and I said get a Kindle because you can get them all on Kindle. And he said I've got a birthday coming up soon, and so he did get a Kindle for his birthday and then got them on Kindle, and they're like, again, $4.99, $5.99 on Kindle. And when you get a Kindle, if you do get a Kindle, guys, make sure it's the cheapest, crappiest Kindle you can get. So you can drop it in the sand. You can, for example, I've got a chunk of books there, but a couple of years ago, I did go to Kindle finally because it's just easier to take a Kindle on holiday rather than all of Gaunt's Ghosts with me or the first 15 books of the Horus Heresy or something like that. So I just got a Kindle and I've got through a couple of them. And make sure you buy a really cheap one, particularly if you're like me, because then you can throw it at people's heads, you can bury it in the sand, you can do whatever you want with it, and you won't feel so bad when it breaks. Having said that, the cheap one that I've got recently, or I say recently, the one that I've got now has lasted me like 3 years, and that thing has been abused. We're talking about dungeon crawling with snotlings level of abuse, and it's still okay. Winters, what armies are you enjoying in 10th edition Warhammer 40k? I've answered this question a few times. I'll answer it again. Anything but Craftworld Eldar. Could just get the Kindle app, sure. I think I'm going to need a Kindle for my Master and Commander series. Poggers, great series. Greetings from Argentina. Absolutely love the channel. Hello, Argentina. Thanks for coming along. Or iBooks. iBooks works as well. iBooks works as well. But hello, Argentina. It's nice. I don't think we've had an Argentinian in before. Um, we're international here. Who'd have thunk it? Thunk it is like thought it, but English slang. So when you say who'd have thunk it, it's not really a word. It's like who'd have thought it, but thunk it. It's yeah. Don't worry about. Anyway, okay. Anything but cheese. Got ya. Well, Stephen, the bird is flightless. It's not going anywhere. Nice. Nice. Master and Commander. Great series. Great film. It's a very good film. Anyway, I feel like I've been rabbiting on for a while. Wow, nearly 2 hours. I've definitely been rabbiting on for a while. 1 minute. 1 minute. I thought I was going to sneeze. Friendly Neighborhood Inquisitor. Oh, by the way, you among others warned me before. I've started the Night Lord series and now I want to collect Night Lords. Yes, do not read the Night Lords Omnibus by ADB unless you want a Night Lord's army. Because after you read it, you'll want a Night Lord's army. I know so many people who've read that series and they want Night Lords. It is so good. If you don't like the Imperium, or if you don't want Imperium books that lean the Imperial way, and you want a good sniff of chaos instead, say you hate Space Marines or the Imperium or the Emperor, stuff like that. Say you're mainly a Xenos player, or whatever, and you don't like the Imperial bent, then the strongest books on the other side of the fence are ADB's Night Lord series and also ADB's Talon of Horus and Black Legion. They are really good. Really good. Highly recommended. 10 out of 10 would bang. Yeah, Grey Knight SEO he fell into the Night Lord trap as well. And also someone on the Discord literally today was like, oh, damn it, I just finished the Night Lord series and I've just dropped £100 on a Night Lord's Chaos Army. It happens all the time. Oh, dear. It's like, it's guaranteed. Good day from Australia. I am up early, or are you up late? It's still light here, so it could be very early or very late. Thank you for your 3 months. I appreciate you, Rolfus. I think you're probably up really early. I didn't think Australians got up this early. I thought you were all lazy shysters who didn't do anything for a living whatsoever. Just, working on the chain gang. Gotta chip away at the chain gang. That's why we put you all down there, right? I didn't, I couldn't watch Bella because I never. Yeah, I have a Night Lord's army because of the books. Yeah, there we go. Alex Stratton has a Night Lord's army because of the books. I also didn't care much. Didn't care much for the Night Lords trilogy. You're joking, right? It is a good series of books. I like it. I mean, I am an Imperial player through and through. I haven't turned to the dark side like Rolfus and been sent off to the prison colony. I'm still here in good old Blighty. To be honest, though, the weather's much nicer down there. And they have koalas. It's nice down there. And sharks. And many poisonous things that will kill you. Mind you, half the time it's on fire. And the other half the time it's underwater. So maybe we've got the better end of the stick. I don't know. Anyway, I'm an Imperial player. And it takes a lot for me to like a book that's not Imperial centric. Like loads of people shout out about this Orc book or that Necron book or this thing. And I think they're mid, most of them. I mean, the Infinite and Divine, the Necron book, people love the crap out of that book. And having said that, there are some Chaos books, some non-Imperial books that really twisted my arm. And the Night Lord series by ADB and Talon Horus, Black Legion are up there. Friendly Neighborhood Inquisitor, thank you for your 7 months. I keep forgetting I get these messages. Anyway, yes, ADB is a genius with Kess. He is. I'm already planning my custom warband. He is. Yeah. Right. Australia is real life Katajan. It is, right? What about Twice Dead King for Necrons? I haven't done it yet. I need to do that one. I haven't finished Infinite and Divine. Everyone was banging on about Infinite Divine for a long. I've got about 78% of the way through, 70% in a book, and it still hasn't got its hooks in me. And people say the Infinite Divine is awesome. And I get what they're going on about because the interplay between the guys and but it just, I'm an Imperial person through and through, and it's they're coming across as very human to me. And I don't want my aliens to be human. I want them to think and feel and act not human, inhuman. Which is why I need to give the Twice Dead King a go. Because I'm hearing that the Twice Dead King does lean more into the PTSD body horror of the Necrons. And that's what I'm looking for in a Necron book, I think, because they are aliens and they should all suffer mass PTSD from what happened to them. And oh my God, where did my belly button go? You know, they should be freaking out a little bit. I would be freaking out. Anyway, shall we try and wrap this up? Tom Evans for the Emperor, thank you. The Huron Blackheart book is worth a look. Is it though? Is it? Trazen, do orcs breathe? Pause. They have lungs. I love Necrons, but couldn't get into the Infinite Divine. It just wasn't great. So I'm not on my... Yeah. See, there's a few people. I think it might be one of those Marmite books. There are some people out there that love the Infinite and Divine. And some people that... But it's like that for all books, isn't it? Anyway, thank you for stopping by this evening. Thank you for all your likes, comments, shares, subscribe, ring the notification bell, press the thing, go to another YouTuber that you like. It could be a history channel, science channel, it could be a Lego channel. Give them a like, give them a subscribe. Us YouTubers really appreciate it. It's what keep the lights on and what plays for all the plastic crack. Thank you to all my members. And thank you to all the people who got 4 new members this evening, and super chats and things. I appreciate all your support. I hope you enjoyed the chat. I enjoyed the chat this evening. This was a good one. And I've got to remember how to actually stop the thing now, because it used to be just a button, and I can't just press the button because then it breaks over here. Because there was an update, you know, computer updates, when it does this thing. Do you want an update? It's like, no, fuck off. I do not want Windows 11 ever. I barely wanted Windows 2. Windows 1 was fine. But now here we are. We're at Windows 10 and it keeps trying to sell me shit. And I don't want any of it. And some of these things have happened behind the scenes with this stuff. And she had to fix it once already. And now it takes 3 buttons to turn off the goddamn... Anyway, here we are. So I'll press some buttons. Thank you to all my members. Enjoy the video that was today. There's one coming on Sunday. It's between Monkey and myself. It is Necrons versus the Space Wolves. Blood for the Blood God. Skulls for the Skull Throne. Click this. Do this. Be nice. Be excellent to each other. Happy wargaming.